Minary in the 1011 Now streaming studio. It's Wednesday, Jared.
It's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday, and that means it's Crime Stoppers Day. So thank you, as always, for making the trip into the studio. We appreciate it. Got a couple things on the agenda this afternoon we want to talk about. Obviously, we're going to cover some crimes that we need some help solving, but we'll also have a fundraiser coming up, or not a fundraiser necessarily,
No, it's
but
kind of a fun event.
Fun event that's coming up. And again, as always, we kind of want to touch on Crime Stoppers and again some of the behind the scenes and the inner workings and how that all works. So, I want to start though with our crimes.
Okay.
No video today.
No video.
But we have some really good pictures.
This is the cool thing about these two cases, actually, in a way. Sometimes you see really good video. We get to see a lot of action. Both of these cases are cases that there's not a lot of action. But what we're doing is we're going through this video, and maybe we get just one single frame where we get a picture of somebody that's a decent picture. And both of these cases are kind of that thing. The video isn't great. Maybe they don't look at the camera for most of the video, but then they just happen to look up at that camera for just a split second. And that's when we get the picture of them. So that's one of my favorite things is when somebody's like committing a burglary or whatever, and they're all covered up, and then they just happen to take their mask down just for the most minute of seconds, and we're able to get that picture of their face.
And we got him.
It's the best. It's kind of like watching the Super Bowl in my office. We're like, woo!
And it's like the replay review. And you just go frame by frame.
Frame by frame, exactly.
And we get them. All right, so you want to start with hard drive guy? Or
Sure, we can start with hard drive guy.
Okay, we're going to start with hard drive guy. So this is a case that happened back not too long ago, September 20th at Best Buy. And I kind of feel bad for Best Buy. I feel like we're talking about Best Buy every other time that you're on here, Jared.
They've actually had a few cases lately, haven't they?
Yeah, they have.
They kind of are hit and miss, I think. Usually we don't get a lot of them, but all of a sudden lately we've just had a few of them. So
here's hard drive guy. This gentleman decided he wanted to go into the Best Buy and stuff as many hard drives as he could into his clothes.
Yeah, he did. He took 11 different hard drives. Some of those are external, and some of them are solid state, like SATA drives that would be internal. We're talking like over $2,000 in hard drives that he took. I'm sure they're not for personal use at that point. He's probably trying to hawk them somewhere. So maybe somebody knows somebody's trying to sell a bunch of hard drives. But we're just hoping that maybe somebody can recognize this guy. Obviously, he comes in, he stuffs all this stuff in his pockets. He ends up buying like one small item for like $10. And then when they stop him at the door, of course, he's got a receipt for the item he bought. Yeah. But not for all the other things that were in his
hidden in his pockets.
So, yeah, we're just hoping that maybe somebody recognizes this guy. I mean, it's actually, like I said before,
it's a really good picture.
That's a great picture. It was the one or two good frames of him as he's walking out the door we really got on him. So we're just hoping that with this picture that's really good, maybe somebody recognizes him. We're just kind of dead in the water on a good tip for him.
Yeah, and he walked out of frame of the camera, so we don't have anything on a vehicle or any other identifying information. But again, this is a pretty clear picture. Again, black male, ball cap there, beard. Again, looks, I don't know, looks pretty tall to me, but everyone kind of looks pretty tall to me, Jared. So I probably should
not comment on that.
Yeah, I shouldn't comment on it either. But yeah, so again, if you have information, even if you're not sure, even if you're like, hey, I just saw a bunch of hard drives at the pawn shop.
Yep.
Let you guys know, right?
Yep, we're never opposed to getting a tip that we can follow up on. I know a lot of people sometimes they'll be like, oh, I didn't want to waste your time on something. And what I've come to learn is if somebody gets that feeling, a lot of times that feeling is right. And when you're sitting there just going, I don't want to waste somebody's time on it, it's not always a waste of time because a lot of times that feeling is right and we're going to end up getting something off of it. And even if it's not worth ignoring something that doesn't feel right. It's always good to call it in so we can at least just check into it and just see if it is correct or if it is some kind of criminal activity.
Trust your gut, and again, even if it's just stopping someone and maybe asking them a few questions for on your guys' end, and nothing comes of it, then that's all that ever happens.
And we do. We talk to a lot of people, and at the police department, we talk to a lot of people every year that it's just like, hey, we had this case we're investigating. Are you involved in it? And there are so many people that we rule out of cases that you never hear about that. Most people are cool about it. They're just like, oh, yeah, no, wasn't me. This is why. And then we just go on our way. It's not like what some people think. We're just always out there just being the mean guys. Sometimes we're out there actually just following up on a tip, and it turns out to be nothing, and everybody walks away and has a great day.
All right, so Jared, for someone to leave a tip, again, we talk about it every week that we're here, but kind of run us through the best way to reach you guys to get that tip.
So, of course, you can always call the police department at 441-6000. That's at any time to speak with an officer or to report a crime, or if you have information on a crime, maybe it's a bigger case, like an old, like a cold case that you know some information about and you finally want to tell us. that's a good place to call to speak with an investigator or an officer. However, if you want to remain anonymous or if you want a reward, the best way to do it is to call Crime Stoppers. That's what that whole organization is for. And by calling that number, 402-475-3600, you can remain anonymous and possibly be eligible for a reward. You can also leave that tip at LincolnCrimeStoppers.com, where you can go and see all the cases we post every day, basically. And, of course, if you have a cell phone that allows you to do the smart apps like everybody else in the world, it seems, we have that app out there called P3. You can download that to your phone, and then you can report to us anonymously, and you can even have some two-way conversations with some of the people involved in that.
But, Jared, how do I know that I'm staying anonymous if I reach out to you guys?
Well, the entire reason that Crime Stoppers exists back in the 80s is they had a homicide case down in Texas, and they wanted to make sure that they got tips on it because they hadn't gotten anywhere. And so they created Crime Stoppers, and the entire intent of Crime Stoppers is anonymity. So that's the whole goal. Like, that is the fundamental reason it exists. So when you actually contact Crime Stoppers, you're not contacting the police department. You're contacting a separate entity. This is a civilian-based organization that is run by civilians, and they take that information, they put it into a computer program that basically makes sure that it washes all of your personal information out of it so it can't come back to you. Then what happens is that gets emailed over to the police department, where it then gets disseminated to an officer that works that beat for that crime. So say it happens at South Point Mall, right? Mm-hmm. Your car gets broken into at South Point Mall. You see this person do it. That tip would then go to an officer that works that team area. Okay. And so then that officer would follow up on it. When they've made an arrest, they then notify the civilian board, hey, I made an arrest on this case, and I recommend a tip for this case. Sometimes, depending on it, like our narcotics unit, they'll actually recommend a dollar amount for it even. They may say, hey, this is an extremely valuable tip that may have started as just a small, like, hey, somebody's had a lot of traffic at their house next door, and it ends up becoming a massive case where, say, they may get a lot of drugs and guns and bad people off the street. It may go from what might be a small tip with a small value to maybe a very high tip and a high value. So that's kind of cool because the investigators can actually recommend to the board, hey, let's give some more money to this person because this tip was so beneficial.
So crime doesn't pay, but Crime Stoppers.
Crime Stoppers does pay.
It could pay. It could pay.
The funny thing about Crime Stoppers is you have to make sure you're the first person to call. It's kind of a race. So if you don't call and you aren't the first one, you won't get the tip money. So if you and I both call in, but you're the first one to get in and say it's Joe
It was
Smith.
Jared.
Yeah, it's Jared. So basically, you're the first one to get it in. You're the one that's probably going to get the reward.
Okay.
However, if my tip says it's Jared, but he works here and he
has more
stays
detail
here, and and you get more information. Hey, maybe the stolen information or the stolen stuff is in this storage unit over here.
Yeah.
Then you may get a little bit of reward because you have first identified me, but I will get a potential second reward for all the added bonus information that was in my tip. So the more information you give and the speed of your information can determine what that tip value is. So a lot of people don't understand why they don't get a reward on their tip. They may be the 15th person to call on that name, but they don't provide any new information, so they're not going to get that reward.
Okay. See, these are things that I didn't know, Jared. So I'm glad we're having this conversation.
So next time, speed matters.
Yes, you see something, you say something right away and provide lots of detail. All right. Okay, that was a good trip down Crime Stoppers. The kind of the inner workings there. Yep. So, second crime today, we want to talk about. This makes me really mad. What this person did. I mean, again, all the people on Crime Stoppers make me mad because they did stuff they shouldn't have.
Usually, they're not good things. Yeah.
But this gentleman here, who will pull up, he just basically up and sucker punches someone in the face.
Yep. Yeah. We don't really know what the reasoning was. Sometimes people aren't honest with us about what happens, and they just report part of the crime. Mm-hmm. They won't tell us the whole story, and maybe that's the case here. We don't really know. But obviously the victim doesn't know this person. Mm-hmm. They're not able to tell us the information about who it is, so we're really trying to figure out who he is. And really, that's as simple as it is. Basically, this guy is standing at 17th and L Street, and this guy here walks up to him. He ends up punching him in the face. He had some pretty minor injuries. He's okay, but of course, it's concerning when you have somebody just walking up to somebody in the street and punching them. So unless there's some kind of backstory that we're not getting from the victim in this case, we definitely would like to get information on who this guy is to hopefully keep him from doing something like that to somebody else.
Yeah, it looks like he's got maybe dreadlocks or some long kind of hair there.
We think he's got some kind of hair up in some kind of bun there. He's got the sides of his head appear to be shaved.
Yeah.
He does have some tattoos on his lower arms that we could see in one of the other images. Yep, there you go. And we believe that he might go by the name of T, like a nickname.
T.
So T as in Tom.
Okay.
So maybe that rings a bell with somebody, and they can give us a good tip on who T might be.
And so this was back a little bit longer ago. Again, the hard drive case was September 20th. This is August 22nd.
Yep. Tuesday afternoon.
Almost 2 months ago now.
Yep.
And down near 17th and L Street. So we're kind of in the downtown area.
Correct.
Where this happened.
Yep. So maybe he's walking around down there. Maybe somebody recognizes him from being downtown.
Yeah.
Don't know if he's like a transient or not. Maybe somebody's seen him kind of hanging out downtown.
And so what kind of charge would he be? I mean, would it just be a simple assault charge?
At this point, it would be a simple assault charge, yes.
And what about the hard drive guy?
That could be a felony theft.
Yeah,
yep. That's a little bit more dollar value wise. So once you get over that $1,500 value, you push yourself up into the felony levels.
Ooh. Yeah. No, that's no good.
Yeah.
Felony theft is no good. So, again, I'll pull it up here real quick just so everyone can see it, but obviously we just talked about it a lot. But, again, if you know anything about either one of these, again, the hard drive theft from Best Buy on September 20th, or T here, again, assaulting someone way back in late August, these are the ways to reach Lincoln-Lancaster County Crime Stoppers. It's not just Lincoln-Lancaster County Crime Stoppers. It is a national organization.
Yep.
So, this is all over the country.
So, basically, the way it works is we have Crime Stoppers USA, which is kind of the parent body, and they watch over the U.S. There's also a Crime Stoppers International.
Oh.
So actually, in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be going to the conference for Crime Stoppers USA. I'm the regional director for the Midwest, so I have 4 states that I help watch out for when it comes to Crime Stoppers, and kind of help other programs stay on track and not get themselves in any kind of legal trouble. But the program that we have here is all individually run in our city. So it really just kind of depends on where you're at, whether you're a county-based, a city-based, or maybe even a state organization. Like, for instance, Nebraska does have a Nebraska Crime Stoppers. So if you're watching 1011 and you see something that's happened in your area, but it's not in Lincoln or Omaha, there are some smaller towns that do have Crime Stopper programs, but if they don't have one, that would just then fall on the Nebraska Crime Stoppers program to basically then work with that local police department or sheriff's office in that jurisdiction.
Okay. More things that I'm learning. This has been very educational for me. And it's also a nonprofit. So
Absolutely.
You guys rely on donations from the community.
Every single program that's out there relies on donations completely. So, for instance, Lincoln, there's nothing when it comes to funding from the federal government, the state government, even the city government. It's all individual funds that come from maybe just like interested people in the city, or maybe a company that wants to donate every year. Obviously, we try to do fundraisers as often as we can to keep it afloat.
Zoo Done It.
So, for instance, Zoo Done It was a great one for us. We're hoping to keep that one going. So,
yeah. I was not able to attend this year. Very sad about it.
It was great, I think. First year, it was fantastic.
I would like to try and solve the crime. So, not a fundraiser, but a fun event you guys have coming up. Obviously, anything that happens at the Lincoln Zoo is a good time. Actually, I don't even know.
This one isn't.
This is not the Lincoln Zoo.
Yep, this one
I spoke out of turn here.
This is at the Lancaster Event Center.
Okay.
So on Tuesday, we're going to be out at the LPD's Trunk or Treat. So if you want to come out and see some of us from the Crime Stoppers program, we will be out there along with pretty much every law enforcement jurisdiction in the area, handing out candy to kids. I mean, what a great event for just getting out in the community.
Are you going to dress up? Are you going to be in costume?
They would like at least one person for each agency to be in some form of law enforcement uniform. And as much as I love Halloween, I volunteered to at least maybe show up as you see me today with my Lincoln Police emblems on it. So I'm gonna represent, I guess, the police department and not my Halloween favorites.
Have you picked out then your Halloween costume for actual Halloween?
I haven't. I actually went shopping this weekend with my kids, and so I'm gonna have to come up with something.
You got 2 weeks.
I do.
My oldest son is going to be Marshall from the Paw Patrol, I think, for the 4th year in a row now.
It's a tradition now.
The same costume. We just order it in the one size bigger. I tried. They're kind of into Pokemon this year, so I was like, hey, maybe you could be Pikachu or something like that. Like,
yep.
No.
Yeah. Well, maybe next year.
All right. Hey. Oh, all right. Anything else from you though today, Jared?
That's it.
Awesome. Again, as always, appreciate you coming in and for joining us. And as always, again, keep it tuned to 1011, both on air and online, for all of the latest news, weather, and sports. We'll go ahead and see you next time.